Coming up next is a thought-provoking fireside chat on the topic The Game Changer, utilizing GPT-4 to elevate your business strategies. And to help us catch up in this rapidly shifting trend in IT, we have none other than Taylor Jones, CEO of the Hello Group, and Nishant Mathur. So without further delay, let's welcome our speakers to the stage.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
How are we? Is this the last chat of the day? I believe it is. Well, I guess we should try and get a little bit of energy in here with a limited capacity.
Yes.
Woo! There we go. Hi, guys. Well, we went from 3 to 2. I went from heat stroke yesterday to sitting here in front of you all lovely people. So I'm surprised I'm here, but we had the chance Nishant and I had a chance to catch up earlier, and really are excited about having a very genuine discussion about where our businesses are, how we're utilizing not just ChatGPT-4, but AI in general to advance our strategies, to cut down on costs, to really advance everything that we're doing across our individual sectors. So if I can suggest perhaps we introduce ourselves first, and then and feel free to literally raise your hand, ask questions along the way. There is no moderator to this chat or discussion, so we're happy to dive in and chat with you guys as we get going too. So I'm Taylor Jones. Nishant, after you.
Hi everyone, I'm Nishant. I met some of you earlier today. So I'm the CEO and co-founder of RollCredits. It's a software company for the entertainment sector where we're helping companies with their production finance. It's an industry that is plagued with really archaic ways of managing their finances, and we're trying to modernize it. Specifically today, I'm super excited. I keep telling everybody that my company has 4 employees, and my 5th employee is ChatGPT. And today, I'm super excited to just talk to everybody about how we're using it.
My name is Taylor Jones. I am the CEO and founder of a media and entertainment holding company called the Hello Group. We actually started as a management company, a talent management company, where we represented singers, influencers, actors, pop stars, sports stars, talent of all kinds. Roughly 7 years ago now, that company was called Hello Management. That company became the legacy company and really the incubator, if you will, to what the Hello Group is today. We now own and operate 16 businesses in the spaces of entertainment, leisure and hospitality, technology, venture, and consumer products. Some of those include a TV and film studio called Hello Pictures. We are producing documentaries with HBO. We have an overall deal with Fox. We're working with Netflix. We have tech companies. One of them is called Spectre Software, which is just coming into its MVP stage, which is really an Asana meets Monday.com, where we embed AI and machine learning to help project workflow and communication within the entertainment sector specifically, although it can be white labeled into other areas. We have a sports division. We have a live touring division where we do about 1,000 shows a year. We're trying to use AI to streamline the administrational process in that area, all the way through to a beverage company called Hello Soju, which sponsored EDC this year and Coachella and is now available at Lee's Liquor and Bevmo and Zook and Wynn and Resorts World and a bunch of other places too. One of the reasons why I now reside in Vegas. So I even used ChatGPT-4 to help me create a very bespoke custom cocktail menu when my VP of marketing was out for a while. And I said, shit, and are we allowed to swear on this panel? Is that okay? I'll bleep that out. I said, damn, I need a cocktail list real quick. And ChatGPT-4 came up with the Hello Soju Night Sky Fizz. And it said 2 shots of elderflower, 1 shot of soju, lemon juice and mint, and you mix it around, and it gave me about 6 options in the space of a couple of seconds, which was incredible. So yeah, a little more on the company. We have a workforce of about 50 people at corporate, about another 60 people across subsidiaries, including developers and designers and analysts and various others, and then a workforce of lawyers and other people. I'd say there's around 150 at all times working on Hello assigned projects. And one of the new things that we're really into is is incubating and accelerating at Hello Ventures new companies that are at the intersection between entertainment and technology, which of course includes tools that help us create content and edit content. And we've seen things that are in the script world and in the media world and in the content world, which are really, really helping us, and we'll dive into some of that today. But to kick off, Nishant, how have you found? So when did you discover that the fifth employee at your company could be a bot?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, so ChatGPT was launched last year, just when we were thinking about starting my startup, and I have been hooked. Actually, just a question: is there anybody here who hasn't used it? Anyone who does not know what ChatGPT?
Kidding.
Okay, so everybody almost tried it out, and the way. Basically, I see it as the new internet. And in a way, when I say that is nobody really knows what it can do, right? Because it can do so many things. It's completely new. It's getting new versions every week. And so I just started experimenting with it. And the way I did it was what is my workflow? What are all the things that I'm supposed to do? And can I ask ChatGPT to do it? And there are more and more cases where it acts like such a good first draft. Honestly, I see it as this intern who is extremely energetic, who is available all the time, and who, regardless of what request I give.
Hardworking intern.
And regardless of what request I give, it gives an output. And then it's my job as a manager to see its output, right? I mean, a lot of people have talked about hallucination, and that it produces things which are not right, and that's perfectly right. But think of it as this extremely eager, hardworking employee which is producing things, and then it's your job as a manager to see whether they're good or not. And honestly, if you take each part of your workflow, just to give you an example, right? In a startup, sales is very important, right? So the mails that you send to sales, a lot of people send these very cookie cutter, the same mails. I would really encourage, try using ChatGPT to make variants of your mails. Try using ChatGPT to even alter the mood. What I have even tried is, okay, I sent this mail, let's say, to Jenny. She replied X. I replied this. She replied this. What should the reply be? And it'll tell you exactly based on all of that, what kind of tone people had, and what could be potential good things that you have said, and what could be potential area improvements. And then it can allow you to draft and get to the better answer. And honestly, that's just one very specific use case where just for sales, just for communication, just using it as a sounding board has helped me so much and get my communication better, especially when I'm mailing at 2 a.m. I really don't want to write a good mail. It helps me so much at that time.
I find it really interesting for, there are seasoned executives and business people who are using it in very, very different ways to, starting entrepreneurs, starting your first business. I think if I had a tool, I'm on business 16 now, and it's a lot to keep up with. But the great thing is that over all of these different businesses and in all these different sectors, I've been able to bring all of these different experiences and learnings into every new business, right? I wish that there was a tool like this that had that wealth of knowledge and experience 16 years ago when I was getting into business and just figuring things out. Building an investment deck, for example. Now you have tools like Canva, for example, that actually have predetermined, templates that you can use. You don't necessarily need a graphic designer anymore. You don't need to be able to spell great because you've got tools like Grammarly that have really been doing the basics of what ChatGPT have been integrating for a long time. And 16 years ago, that wasn't the case. And I had a great idea. I remember applying for a loan at Virgin Startup. And the irony, the full circle moment is that the former president and CEO of Virgin, who was there for 12 years, Phil Quadraro, is now our president and chairman. And so I've been able to take a lot of those learnings because I was refused that loan of, I think, £15,000 in the UK. And they said, upload your investment presentation. I had no idea what an investment presentation even was. How do I structure it? What goes on the pages? It's you don't just know this stuff, and you assume that people know these things. One of my last use cases of ChatGPT was actually an influencer marketing campaign. Can you provide me with an idea, a strategy for how to market a Korean soju, like a Korean beverage, in a Western audience.
Yeah.
And after a couple of seconds, it spits out an entire plan saying, first analyze your demographic. If it's a Korean audience or the Korean primary drinker, you should try targeting or sponsoring events that have Korean artists and attendees. Korean influencer marketing, but perhaps you should have a dual version where you're also hitting the Weibos of the world and the Discord clubs and the Telegram clubs and all these different places that are operating in another language. I can't speak Korean. A lot of my employees and investors and board members are Korean, but it just was able to give me an entire marketing strategy within minutes that I was able to. And like you said, it's a draft, right?
It's a draft,
and you can work from that.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I would say it in this way: if there's any content that has to be created, I would give ChatGPT a try, right? I mean, as you were saying, like 16 years ago, so I did 8 years of consulting. I made like so many decks. And, there's just so much time that I could have got back if ChatGPT existed, right? Right now, I think Microsoft is going to come back with like Copilot for PowerPoint, where literally you can just write the description and it'll create a whole slide deck. Like imagine if that existed when, you're in front of a client and you're trying to make, like in your case, in that loan explanation, right? And just like as a secret, please don't tell anybody, I have even used ChatGPT to write love poems for my wife. And first, she didn't know it.
Can we get a round of applause for that? That's some creativity right there.
But seriously, it's amazing, right? Like, so initially she didn't know.
Don't trust your vows.
But then I later on told her, look, I've been sending these things to you and they're made by ChatGPT. And she's like, they are great. Like, it's the effort that matters. In fact, like my dad had his birthday and I wrote like a nice little poem with a card created with Midjourney and he loved it. And he knows that AI has created it, but without AI, it would have not been there, right? So I literally think, like, even at your home, like we were talking about Midjourney.
Who here is familiar with Midjourney? Raise a hand if you know Midjourney. And if you don't, okay, a few of us in the room don't. Yeah, Midjourney, I've been using it on Discord. It's basically a tool, an AI tool that helps you create, art. Among other things, ideas and sketches and stuff. And I'll give you an example of how I use that at our company. Hello Pictures, our TV and film division. Part of developing content is we find an idea or a script that we like, and then we develop that script, and we come up with, there's a plot point here that we want to change. This, there's not enough emotion in this section that we'd like to adapt. All of that, by the way, we're able to now use ChatGPT for. We're able to literally upload an entire segment of dialogue and say, implement more emotion into this, or add some sarcasm, add a joke, and we can see what it spits out. It's not always great, but sometimes it's fantastic, and it just gets you past the writing block. Now once you've developed the script, now our job as a development company is to sell that script, that project, to a studio like Disney or Fox or Netflix or Hulu, for example. And in most cases, they will pay the production company, which is us, the budget, and then we'll go and actually, and they buy either all, or they license part of the IP, and there's a deal that takes place, and then moving forward, it's our job to go and make that project, right? And you should talk about what you do in more detail because it really relates to this at some point. Now, one of the bottlenecks in that whole process had been, wow, the script is already pretty expensive. We have to option a script that can be anywhere from 14K, 10K on the low end, or you can option a spec script from a big time writer for $500,000 or for $1 million. It just depends on who you're bringing in. And then you have to create the pitch deck. And if we're doing an animated show, or if we're doing an anime, for example, we need to develop the characters and a couple renders of the scenes and what they look like. So Drew, for example, is a young 16-year-old kid. It's an animated movie. He has these glasses, curly hair. He has these 2 water pistols on his side. His arms are way bigger than his tiny head. All of these different things. Or Barry is a young atom who is translucent, and he stumbles around, and you can see his feelings through his translucent skin. He's more of a ball with little legs. All of these different kinds of things. We would have to hire designers and content makers to make this stuff, and it's really, really, really expensive. And it's a process that also can take 3 to 6 months to get this concept art put together, and you use that to package your deck and build the package. And so that would really, really slow down the process in the TV and film development world when you're putting together formats, because you really need to help the development executives at the studios understand and visualize what you're showing them, but really understand. And instead of hiring now, there's a guy called David Levy who's incredible, very, very renowned, and he's done artwork for tons of big pictures that you guys will have seen and will have appreciated, incredibly talented. But instead of paying someone like that, tens of, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars and waiting 6 to 8 months to be put into his schedule, I now open up Discord, use Midjourney, and it goes #imagine. I enter the prompt, and I can now say, I want to see a giant dragon floating above 2 skyscrapers with marshmallows raining down from the sky, lightning coming out of his eyes, and a massive tidal wave coming up behind him, right, that's about to wash out his flame. And it can be that detailed, that specific, and I press enter, and within 60 seconds, and even if I specify photorealistic, I have an image or 4 different images that represent that exact scene that I can now download. I can even edit them and respond and say, I like this, but let's add some red stripes down the arms. And I can now download this and use this in my pitch deck to really demonstrate everything. And I have that within a matter of minutes and at 0 cost. I believe it's like $60 a month or something around that margin to use this. It's insane. It takes hundreds of thousands off of my budget. It takes 6 months out of my budget. And this is all using AI. And many of the studios in Hollywood aren't even catching up yet, and they don't even know what it is. So it's an incredibly powerful tool, and that really is a genuine use case that we're using right now.
I mean, if any one of you sends newsletters, I would highly encourage you to try like Midjourney. Like I create newsletters for my startup and I send to people, and I want it to look distinctive, and I use Midjourney to like create visuals and send with that. Another fun use case, if any one of you have kids, please play with them on Midjourney. Like my son the other day had a dream where he imagined a squid that looked like a tree. And I just put it in the Midjourney, and we played around, and I printed a copy of it and made a card, and I'm suddenly the best dad ever. So I would just highly recommend, like especially with like kids, and it's just so much fun, right? And it also has these practical uses, right? Another case of like I would say with GPT that we have found very interesting is like in your industry, there are different budgets. Like you use Movie Magic. There are several other different kind of budget formats, and our software needs to import all these budgets into our format. Now, typically, it would take a lot of code where you would have to like figure out each and every format. You would have to create that code in Python, and then finally, it would give a certain file format. We started experimenting with ChatGPT, where we would simply tell it, this is the data that has come in. This is the format we want it in. Can you do that? And it's 100% accurate, right? Now, this was still time-taking because you still have to copy-paste. So you take that data, you have to paste it in the ChatGPT window, you get the final result, and you're pasting it back. I don't know if all of you have followed this new release. It released a thing called Code Interpreter. Has anybody heard about it? Okay. So the beauty of that is like people who don't code can now code within ChatGPT. So what it does is like you can straight away upload files in the ChatGPT window. You can ask it to create a Python code, right? It will iterate on that Python code till it makes it perfect, and it will lead to the final output. So the beauty of this is I don't even have to now copy paste data and get it out. I have created like a mini program in a window, right? And I would encourage everyone to just try. I mean, honestly, what we wanted to do was demonstrate it with a computer here, but we can't hook it up. But I would encourage everybody to try that, code interpreter. It has been so fascinating when now, like, I loved coding in college. I haven't coded in the last, 15 years of my life. But now I can code very easily and create, like, these custom applications. And I think this is going to, increase the productivity of so many people and is going to make coding so accessible.
It's fantastic. And the next stage of that, and I don't know how far out this is. I'm still learning every day. ChatGPT is helping me learn how to use ChatGPT also. That's a really cool thing that you can ask it is, hey, what do you do? I was speaking to one of our CTOs at the Hello Group, and we've been consistently, when we develop and build tech companies, it's very similar. We actually And I'm not sure how you do it, but at least how we've done it. And I came at this, the first tech company I was building was an influencer marketing SaaS-based company. Back in 2015, we were kind of ahead of the curve. And, that did payments, that did analytics, data scraping, that did, really A to Z for the whole process of influencer marketing. And then we did a demo submission platform called Label Radar, which ended up selling to Beatport. And that was a really cool tech company that really took a snippet, the best part, a chorus of a song, and then had an audience that were able to swipe left or right like Tinder on Label Radar. They didn't know what the song was called or who the artist was. And that would auto-rank when the A&Rs came in to look at the different songs that were pitched to the label, it would auto-rank the best songs in there, so they already knew what the audience wanted before they signed something, and then they signed it in platform, right? But the way that, and we've done a lot of different tech companies since then, all in the remit of entertainment, but the way that we started was, I'm a creative, I'm a visionary, and I have a cool idea. Let me draw it on a piece of paper, and I would draw a couple of screens, and then I would contact a UX or a UI designer and have them, bring that to life. I would first come up with a logo and work with a designer for that, and then draw on a piece of paper and take the pictures and literally film myself on a WhatsApp video saying, hi Umar, who was our, UX guy. I want this page to kind of turn to this side, and really demonstrating from a very, very amateuristic way. And then they would create the UI and UX designs, and we would use that. That would be the very, very starting point to our tech company. And then we'd connect with a development team who could actually bring that vision to life because they can see it. Very similar to how an executive has to see the pitch in a TV show, right? And our CTO was saying that moving forward, it's not going to be too long before ChatGPT 4 or whichever version we're on at that point, will actually be able to interpret and build code based on a UX and UI brief. You can upload a UX image or an image of UI, and it will really be able to just build that based on the wireframes that you upload and the images, and build you an MVP of a platform like that. I mean, I just built a platform and I spent $600,000 on it, and it's taken, 7 months to get done, and we're not even at MVP stage. Can you imagine the savings and the efficiency and the lack of human error? And then, instead of having a team of 15 developers, you can have maybe 4 or 5 senior developers who can then oversee, supervise, fix the bugs, and get things going. I find it quite truly remarkable.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a productivity enhancer where, like, if one person was able to work on one product at a time, they can do 10, I think another area where we have found it super interesting is just accuracy. So we, the entertainment industry has a lot of invoices and receipts, right? And people have to put it, in an Excel or whatever form, and they have to track. And one thing I like about your industry is they track everything really well. They don't let money just go to waste.
There's a lot of tax credits in the movie business.
So we built an AI-based scanning tool to just scan all the invoices and receipts, and automatically create a sort of log for that. And what we found after using, so the system we use uses actually OpenAI. We use an OCR plus an OpenAI linkage to that, and we found that is often more accurate than people, because think about it. If you have to take 50 receipts one by one and enter into an Excel, you're bound to make mistakes. But now if you just scan all of them, it's much, much more accurate. Right? And that's another benefit of AI where now that person, instead of doing that, really uncool work of making a log, can just review.
You just saved my life. Wow, you just opened my brain. I've been using, does anyone know what Xero is? It's kind of like the European version of QuickBooks.
Yeah.
And there you go. Yeah, and so my CPA firm here actually in California, where our head office is in Hollywood, they don't use Xero. It's very similar to QuickBooks, but the tools are in different places, the links are in different areas, and so they don't want to use it. Fair enough, all good. So I've been doing my own reconciliation for my own tax for a while. It takes me about an hour and a half, once a month. I just get it done. And when you pull an Amex statement into Xero, you have to bring a statement in, but you have to, and you know what I'm talking about, right? You have to change every minus right, into a plus, manually, line by line,
Yeah.
and then every plus into a minus,
Yeah.
right? And so every outgoing and inbound transaction you have to manually change so that your accounting software can recognize what it actually is and whether or not it's a deficit in the account or if it's a balance in the account. And I have been doing that manually for the last 4 years, and you've just, I don't know why I didn't think about this, but I could literally just put that into ChatGPT, said, turn all the minuses into pluses and spit me back,
Exactly. You should
an
use like
XRS.
code interpreter exactly for this. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's yeah, exactly. I just like, to me, like, I think this is such a good opportunity. I know a lot of people like, are also scared of AI, but honestly, I feel like it's a great tool that everybody should just try out, right? You will figure out your own, rhythm with it. You will figure out your own exact use case. But like everyone should try it. Like, like the other day, like my wife had to like give a speech, and she was like just waiting and waiting to start it. And then
Was it a wedding?
it was just like some facilitation she was getting, and then she, just started using ChatGPT, and like that. You've heard of that cold start? Like it just takes a lot of effort to just fake the first effort. This just reduces the cost of that first effort, right? And it makes it so easy to start writing that that then you write more. Like for example, I had been postponing sending a newsletter for like 4 months. And one day I was like, okay, I have this idea on Father's Day. Let me just think, and create with ChatGPT. And then we iterated over it, and it took me 2 hours because I wanted to be like really good. But ultimately, I sent it, and I sent it because I got that first draft, and I'm sure like without that first draft, it would have taken me like 6 hours, and I would have never done it. So I feel like it's like kind of a real productivity boost that everybody should figure out how to put in different parts of their life, whether it's personal as well.
It does have pros and cons though, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And
yeah.
we're here to talk about, and it's right there on the screen, the elevating your business strategies in business using, GPT-4. And do we want to touch on some of the negatives that this? Have any of you found that you're a little apprehensive to use this, or you're scared about the development and what it might do, in your industry? Would you like to share that with us?
So I work in regulated spaces, and one of the issues you have with ChatGPT is sometimes it takes things out of context. And depending on the industry, taking things out of context can be problematic. Also, you have to be able to have the receipts in order to understand where that information is coming from. So sometimes when it's less on the creative side and you're looking more for accuracy, that's where I've seen
a lack
the
of source
issues.
info sometimes.
Yeah, but one of the things I've done is like used plugins like Web ChatGPT to pull in search results to help build the prompts and bring more up-to-date conversations, and it can also help sometimes with the accuracy. So there are ways to try to combat the accuracy issue that you're dealing with.
Yeah, I mean, I think what I would recommend to you is like, so in Code Interpreter, you can upload like text files. Like it doesn't need to be just a data file, right? It can be any file. So you can literally tell it that only reference the information in this file and try to like limit it. But I agree. I think I was having the same debate with like another person, and I think I still am not at the place where I will allow it to do automatic decision making. Right? That's a place which I would still say is not there where,
Ooh, I watched the documentary on Netflix yesterday about robot weapons and AI. Has anyone seen that? Anyone seen that? Yeah, it's scary. Robots and AI is going to be at some point determining whether or not to take a human life or not. It's quite scary, but.
Yeah, I mean, so I hope not. Like I hope we don't.
Well, you'll be up first, man.
But I think, I don't think it's still at the place where you wanted to give full decision-making power. I think you want to review the content it's creating and then like have someone. It's like the maker-checker thing. It's just like, that's the maker, you're the checker.
Yeah, let's talk about a very, very standard pro and con here. The pro is it's saving a lot of monies for businesses like ours. It's helping with efficiency. So long as you're supervising how you use it and you're using it in a smart and responsible way, there are an enormous number of advantages. Some of the disadvantages, is going to be man force in your team and the reducing of jobs across the board. And we're actually going through and maybe some of my employees will be hearing it on a live stream for the first time now. But we're going to be going through a major reorganization at Hello because there are just tools now that are doing their jobs for them, and it just is the reality of it. And they're doing them 24/7, better than, faster than, and with a lot less errors too. And so, is anyone else here? Has anyone else experimented with AI scheduling? Show of hands if you have. Okay, I'll give you a tool that maybe will help some of you that I've been experimenting with recently, and I'm a massive advocate for this tool because I've been trying it out for the last couple of weeks. I have a couple of EAs in my office, and we have executives at the company all have EAs, and they do scheduling, they do note-taking, they hold calls, they review agreements, some of them. They have a bunch of different, roles and duties at the company. Now, but the bulk of time is really spent on scheduling, figuring out everyone's agendas, especially when it's a larger team of executives, even figuring out everyone's agendas internally and then figuring out an external agenda is really, really difficult. And then note-taking, right, and dispersing those notes, but not the confidential notes that you don't want to go to everyone. And there's a lot of intricacies, and that takes a lot of training and understanding. So we have implemented 2 tools at the Hello Group. One of them is called Otter AI, which is a note-taking AI system. It's really good. You connect it with Microsoft Calendar or whatever calendar you're using, and it will automatically join your Zoom call and just start taking notes. And it will circulate the notes. It will not circulate the notes. It takes complete instruction there. It records an entire transcript. You can keep the audio, and then it summarizes the bullet points of the conversational topics, and you can click back through those. So now for a CEO, when I don't have time to be on every meeting, but I need to recap in certain meetings between executives, whether they're internal or external, I can go back into this. My autopilot is on those calls, and I can click through the headlines of those meetings and just familiarize myself, even speed up the audio playback, even see the pictures that are shared on that screen sharing. It's quite fantastic, and it doesn't. I don't have to worry about if my team is sick or not in the office or running late or anything. The job is always done and always done to the best of the ability. And Otter AI costs me about $20 a month per user. It's insane. Then I combine that with another tool that I've just familiarized myself with and just rolled out company-wide called Clara Labs. And if you don't know what this is, you really should check it out. Clara Labs is an AI scheduling tool. You can actually change her name. So I have Clara at the Hello Group now. It uses my domain. And I connect that into my calendar. And I'm able to brief Clara based on my availability. I can say I want to be available between 10 and 7 p.m. every day, and I'm available for any keyword of these meetings: lunch, dinner, office, whatever. I'm only available between the hours of 1 and 2:30 for lunch. And it knows that lunch for me is at Jardine at the Encore here. And it knows that dinner is at Toca Madera or at the Four Seasons. It knows that already. It's pre-programmed. I've connected it to my Zoom. So every time I say, looping in Clara to set a Zoom for us, Clara will jump in and say, "Thanks, Taylor. Hey, Jonathan, hope you're having a great day. I'd be happy to find time for you and Taylor to talk." And I can specify on Friday, or I can specify in the next few weeks. And then it creates a Zoom link, sends the Zoom link on the invite, and it will update everyone 24 hours before the meeting takes place. It knows that I like 10 minutes between every virtual meeting to go to the restroom and get a coffee. And it knows that I like 60 minutes between every in-person meeting to actually ensure that there is time for overages or travel. It's really, really phenomenal. And it talks like a person. It learns your lingo. It starts talking with you in the same tone as your team. There's a machine learning element to it as well. And it's just fantastic. And it's about $200 for the intermediary plan, where you can change her name, the domain, but not her name. So it's Clara at the Hello Group now. And then it's a little more per seat if you want to add code words. And I could say, looping in Clara to set up a time to meet. I'm traveling for the next few weeks, but let's circle back in a couple weeks. It will know that my code word, circle back in a couple of weeks, means don't schedule the meeting. I don't want to speak to this guy. And it knows that inherently without me having to brief it. And it's fantastic. So that right there is an example of how $200 a month, right, per seat, plus $20 a month for Otter AI. We're talking in the 3.5K, and if I add some more seats, 3.5 to 5K range, depending on all these different tools a year, versus my $120,000 a year standard EA rate that we're paying across the board, right? And so the saving, when you're considering that company-wide, is millions of dollars. And they work 24/7. The notes are always available. They're archived in the right place. It's quite fascinating. And when you start to pair up Clara with Otter, and the other day I used an AI lawyer. My counselor,
Do
Reed
not call.
Smith,
Yeah.
right? Reed Smith, and when they pay $1,000 an hour, for a California employment lawyer, and we want to talk about how we respond to a certain situation. And normally it's, okay, let's get our lawyer on the phone and it's $1,000 an hour. Maybe they have an associate or another partner on the phone with them and it's a couple of grand. Fantastic. And we get based on the law, but it's a suggestive strategy based on their interpretation of the events type of analysis. And then as you execute the strategy, you have to continue asking, so this is what we're planning, does this look good to you? And the meter just keeps going on, right? I found AI lawyer online. It's $9.99 a week. And I typed in, hey, when you have X going on, what rights does the employer have versus the employee in the state of California? And what are the things that we should be wary of? And what potential damages could we foresee in this scenario? And I hit enter. And within seconds, it says, well, based on the California Labor Code, article or act X, 2.9 this deems the following, and it gives me a very, very specific output based on the law, not based on interpretation or a strategic ideology from an attorney at a big firm, based on the law, exactly what the law describes would happen in that situation. And then you can actually ask it additional questions that help you strategize your next step, and even ask it to provide you with the language. And you have this in a matter of minutes for $9.99 a week, rather than the $3,000 it would have cost me to be on the phone with my counsel, who are great, by the way, and who are fantastic, but it's not efficient anymore.
Yeah. I mean, I have tried this where I had a question to my lawyer and I fed it to ChatGPT, and they both gave me the same answer. Now, I'm not saying it'll always be the same, but I was just testing and it works. It's also fascinating, like there were like two other areas where I didn't expect it to be so good. So there is a lot of you may use Reddit. There is a subreddit called Ask Docs, where people can ask questions and actually real doctors reply. And somebody ran an experiment where they took all those questions and they took all the responses that actually doctors had written, and they asked the same questions to ChatGPT, and they got those answers. And then they did a blind test where they would ask people, okay, this is a question, this is the answer. Which answer is correct was one. And the second was, which answer is more empathetic, like which is like, more nicer to the patient. So I think in terms of accuracy, ChatGPT in its current form was 85%, right, which is already pretty good. But in terms of empathy, it was clearly better. Like everyone rated the answers given by ChatGPT as more empathetic than those given by doctors. Which is kind of interesting, right? Because like it doesn't get frustrated. It's not in a hurry, right? And it's always nice.
I wish my girlfriend was ChatGPT. But it prohibits certain conversations. That's a danger zone, of course. And it's a good.
Yeah.
That's it. Well, that's part, right. That's part of the concern here, and it's a good thing that while we're figuring things out, that there are responsibilities that are limiting certain privileges, if you will, of AI, because AI is going to enter into every sector of the world, and it's going to be, ubiquitous.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like 1980s and internet has just come. I really think that's revolutionary, and it's just so fast. Like every month, every year, we'll just figure out so many new things for it. And I mean, I am just like intrinsically very optimistic about it. But
likewise.
Yeah.
We have a couple of minutes left. Does anybody have any questions they like to pose to us, or any conversations they like to open up? Sure.
So, first off, thank you guys for, oh, can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So first off, thank you so much. So do you think the AI in jobs is a zero-sum game, really? If you really think about it, it's going into every single industry. What happens when you can replace individual contributors as well as managers, but yet they cost $9.99 a month, right? So if no one has any money, how can we pay for the AI, right?
I mean, I can share my take.
Go for it.
I don't think it's a zero-sum game. I think it's a tool that will make everybody better. Like, I mean, just from my, like, we are a small company, we are a startup, like just 5 months in, and we can already, do better because of it. Like, we're behaving like a company with, like, I don't know, 10 engineers, even though we only have 2. So I just feel, at least in my particular use case, it just is like a superpower that is given to everybody to do more, do better. So yeah, I don't see it as it's like when the computers came, and I think people were worried, but eventually everybody was able to do more and more.
I share part of that opinion. I also am very wary. My personal belief, I'm not an economist, I'm not a strategist. This is just my personal gut feeling. There are going to be industries that will cease to operate in the way in which they do now. The content and media business is going to be one of them. There is going to be a time where AI replaces songwriters, unfortunately. That is bad for me. I'm a songwriter. I'm a creative guy. I run a music publishing company, which is the leading music publishing company for K-pop in the world at the moment. I'm terrified at what that's going to do. Artwork and graphic artists. How on earth can you justify? I know it's terrible, but how can you justify spending tens of thousands of dollars on graphic design when you can have, for $69, you can have exactly what you're looking for in a space of a minute, and you don't have to email anyone. It's very tough. So the creative industries are going to suffer greatly. The assistant industries, the support staff industries, the legal industry is going to suffer greatly. I think the labor-intensive industries, factory workers is right in the middle there, because there's going to be a lot of that taken over. But there are things like performers, soccer players, sports industries. Think of industries where it's really physical driven. Those are going to prosper, and they're going to and their profit margins are going to go through the roof, because all of the technical side of those industries are going to be supported now by AI. So some of these industries are going to flourish, and some of them are going to suffer dramatically, and we're going to see that happen in the next 2 to 3 years already, is my belief.
Thank you guys for your opinions, and I am pro AI. I'm just cautiously optimistic.
Likewise. Thank you.
Hello, and thank you for the talk. I first want to share a thing that I saw like 2 weeks ago and have been using a lot. Midjourney is out there, but now they have on Microsoft's Bing. You can just ask for an image, then it generates for you like Midjourney was doing, but now it's free for everybody to use, so you can just go there and use for free. And having this in mind, what are your thoughts about but AI, it is creative or not, and how this is going already? Because a lot of people say, no, there's a big difference between the humans. We have creativity, AI doesn't. But when you look at the images that generates, they don't exist in other place, so kind of looks like it's getting there.
Shall I talk to this one?
Yeah, please. Yeah.
Here's the thing. The AI is always using a source, right? At the moment, it is a brain. It's a decentralized brain that uses a source of data that sweeps the entire web, right? Everywhere you can find. And so it's always basing what it creates on some form of inspiration. What I will say is that humans are able to create new, innovative formats, and the format could be a picture, a song, a creation, whatever, an idea of all kinds, without necessarily having to see something that inspires that initially. Your inspiration can be a feeling, it can be whatever. And so there's a difference. But what AI is doing, I would disagree that it's not creative, and I would also disagree that it doesn't aid the humans in creating too, because it can create you, if you have a writer's block, you have a vision block, you don't know where to start, it helps, spark creativity, get you on your way, but the only way that it's not going to take over humans in the creative world right now, and this is my personal opinion, is if there are bills from creative unions that come in and stop that from being the case. And I know in the music business that is the case. I know, across the board that is the case, and I will be championing the use of AI, and I am definitely pro AI, but I do not want to see the complete replacement of an art form that really inspires joy and happiness and entertainment into so many. And so I'm right in the middle. I'm the pro, but I also want to protect the usage and how far we let it go. Because at some point, it does have the power to replace human creativity altogether. Remember, we are where the web is and where iPhones were. We're 20 years ago right now for AI, and we're already this far ahead, and it learns itself. So where we're going to be in 15 years is going to be a scary place.
I mean, the only thing I would say in addition is, like, you've heard that quote, right? Like, if a tree fell in the forest and nobody heard it, did it really fall? So the same thing, like if there is an image which makes you feel good, that you like, then, does it matter that it was built by somebody who was supremely creative, or, like that's how I see with my son.
It does if the creative is paying for your rent.
True, yeah, but which is personal, right? But like when I see with my son, right, who doesn't have these preconceived notions, he just loves the output, right? He's not like and he still builds, he's still drawing, but he loves it. To him, like, I think it still is creative, but yeah, it's a very subjective question in that way.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks so much.
Good question.
Yeah.
Hello, thank you for the chat. It's very, very nice. I have so few experience with the ChatGPT, but my experience is that really, if you are prepared academically, you can maybe analyze exactly what it is doing, because at some point we discover that sometimes it's not right or is in the wrong way, and that is a risk. How do you think we should manage this if we give those tools to our employees, for example, and they take decisions, and it can impact your business, and that risk is something that I think is there, and I think it could be in the wrong way for the company, and it could be too late to be aware, of. So I'm really worried about it, because sometimes the answers are not what it should be.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's not in the track or in the strategy of the company. You see?
Yeah.
So that is really my question. How do you think this could evolve in the near future?
Yeah. So I think it's a great question. I think I would just break it in 2-3 ways. One is, like, you're making many decisions in your job and not everything is that critical, right? So you would definitely want to start with the ones where the cost of getting that wrong is low, right? You won't want like something which is like, oh, prepare my, investor report automatically without reviews. But you might. So I think that's the way first I would like break it down. Like, obviously don't use it automatically for the highest cost decision, use it for the smaller ones. The second is, like, I think building in some sort of like control mechanisms, because think about it that way, like somebody in your company is still analyzing Excel, but some manager is seeing it before it goes, right? So you always have those control mechanisms where somebody just review the output. And until you are like reasonably confident that, I have done this 10 times over, it's always right, and I don't need to review it anymore, like then you can probably like let it be on autopilot. But I think that's the way I would try. Like, try with smaller things, try it over time, see if it's consistent. If it's consistently correct, great, it's on autopilot. If it's not consistently correct, then probably that's not the right problem, right? And that's how I would like slowly build my confidence instead of saying, and my whole company's running like that.
ChatGPT will never replace good leadership. You have to supervise what's going on, and it is your job leading your company to educate your team on what the pros and the potential pitfalls could be of this, and to box in what you allow your employees to use it for. And I think if it's artwork, for example, or if it's I'm not sure what your business is, but if it's for my alcohol company, for inspiration for a new cocktail menu, go for it. There's no right or wrong answer there. That's not going to deter from our strategy. It's not going to create any problems. And so in that regard, have at it. And if, and perhaps there can be policies where reporting to different staff internally or different division heads, where there can be checks. What is the source of this work? Where did the work come from? And there can be various different checkpoints that come through as part of that. But it's going to be up to you to really educate. And we do company, what do we call them? Like at the beginning of every year, you have an annual planning day. We do company retreats. Yeah, and every quarter we do a company retreat, and we discuss, leadership discusses, and we present to our team the new tools we're taking on board, the new strategy, the new vision from corporate, the new company values, all of these different things and how we change and shift. And in those particular, and there may be updates to the company handbook as well, and all the different policies in place. And that will be the perfect place to have a very similar like fireside chat, minus the fire, to really educate your team on, we are utilizing this for this, but we do not feel as a corporate leadership body that this and this and this and this and this we can rely on for. And so we encourage you not to do so. And it's as simple as having that chat, I think, and that transparency, because otherwise, you're right, there could be situations where it is even used against you. An AI lawyer, for example, could be used by an employee against their employer. And so those types of things, I would not be trusting my giving seats for AI lawyer to employees who I believe could potentially misuse it or have issues with us. But senior legal guys or division heads, where it can fast track their work, and they've been working with us for long enough. We trust them. There's an inherent bond, and we know that they're pro-company, and their job is to protect the company. And of course, we look after our employees too. That is all discretionary and good leadership.
Yeah. And that things you make the point, and I was putting the example of the company, and it's not to sound bad, but what I think is that you have to be academically prepared in some way, at some point, at some level, so you can use it in the right way. And that comes to the point that you said, is education. We need to educate, because if you see it in the whole world, this is going to be used in any way. Yeah. So that's my scare, and that I think is a risk.
Yeah, I think people are going to use it sooner than later, and therefore preparing them, to use it in the right way is more proactive path. If you still haven't told your employees how to use it, I'm sure somebody's using it in some way.
Yeah.
Educate, good leadership.
That's it.
Yeah, that's it. Thank you for your question.
Thank you.
And thank you, everybody.
Yeah.
I hope
Thank you, everyone.
I hope you enjoyed the panel. We'll be around for a little while too.
Yeah. Thank you.